Hi nursery, it's Miss Dyson here. I'm going to be your nursery teacher when you start at school in September. I know that I've already met some of you on the home visits when I came to your house and I found out a little bit about you, but I thought that it might be nice to tell you a little bit about me before you start school. So, I've worked at your new school, Oswald Road, for a very long time, for more than 10 years. And I've worked in reception and I've worked in year 1 and year 2, but I've never worked in the nursery before. And I'm so excited because I've always wanted to work in the nursery. So when you start at nursery, it'll be my first day in nursery as well, so we can learn all about nursery together and look after each other. Some of my favourite things to do when I'm in the classroom, I love reading stories. That's one of my favourite things. I really like drama and dancing and singing. So we'll do lots of Turkle times with lots of songs and things like that. I really like playing outside. We've got really cool bikes and I like playing with balls and climbing and that kind of thing. So if you like any of that kind of stuff, we're going to get on really, really well. And if you like anything like diggers or dinosaurs or anything, then you can teach me all about it. That would be absolutely fantastic. When I'm not in school, I live with my partner and with his little girl, and we have a dog called Ruby, and we like taking her for nice long walks. I wonder if any of you have any pets too? Okay, so now you know a little bit about me. I thought that I could read a story for you, our very first story for our new nursery class. And I've picked the best story because it is called Starting School. And that's what you're going to be doing soon, isn't it? So it's all about starting school. Let's have a look together. Starting school. On the first school day, Sadie and her mum meet Sam and his dad. I'm excited, said Sadie, jumping up and down. I'm nervous, says Sam, holding Dad's hand tight. Sadie's school bag has a picture of Cinderella on it. Sam's school bag has a picture of football. I've got juice, says Sadie, and an apple. I've got juice too, says Sam, and an orange, and biscuits, and crisps. Their teacher's name is Mrs. Bean. She comes to greet the children and says hello. Sadie says bye to Mum, but Sam says a very quiet bye to Dad. Mrs. Bean says bye too. Then she takes Sam and Sadie by the hand and in they go. Mrs. Bean puts a sticky name label on their clothes. Above each name there's a picture. Your drawer has the same picture on it, says Mrs. Bean, and your cloak-frame peg and your special place on the shoe trolley. Sam puts his coat on the blue lorry peg. Sadie puts hers on the carrot. Some children are already playing in the classroom. Sam wants to do a jigsaw, but he feels a bit shy. Sadie watches the other children, and in a cage in the corner, something watches Sadie. The children sit on the carpet by Mrs. Bean. Now she has the cage on her knee. From under some straw, a tiny pink nose wobbles at them. Do you know who our special classroom friend is? Asks Mrs. Bean. The children put up their hands, but no one has the right answer. And Mrs. Bean shakes her head. He's a gerbil, and his name is George, says Mrs. Bean, and you've all got to help me look after him. George crawls out from under the straw and sits up. Then the children sing a song together to help learn each other's names. By break time, Sadie knows Hannah's name, Sam knows Ben's, and everyone knows George's. At break time, some big boys and girls come into the classroom. These are your buddies, says Mrs. Bean. They'll help you with your coats and jackets, and if you've forgotten where the toilet is, they'll help you with that too. Sadie is pleased because she had forgotten already. playground is huge. There are games painted on the ground in bright colours. The children eat their snacks. Sam gives a piece of orange to Ben, a biscuit to Jessica, and some crisps to Sadie. They play hopscotch and Joe falls over Sam. Sadie pulls them both back up and the two boys smile at her. In the classroom, Joe shows off his hurt knee. While everyone's admired it, Mrs. Bean puts a plaster on. She reads a story about a bear called Barney. Hands up if you know what colour Barney's jumper is, she says. You see it? Maybe you can see it from there. Ben puts both hands up and shouts, "Red!" "Well done, Ben," said Mrs. Bean, and next time one hand will do nicely. The children paint pictures of Barney. Sam gets a sticker that says, "I'm a star," and he feels like a star. On the second day, Mrs. Bean plays a tape. It's music and movement, she says, and first we have to warm up. Warm up is brilliant. Hands on hips and step together, knee up high, reach up tall and clap. "I'm very warmed up," says Sadie. "Everyone is as red as Barney's jumper." Back in the classroom, the children write some words. At first, Sadie doesn't think she can. Mrs. Bean writes a word with her magic teacher's pen. Then Sadie goes over the letters and writes cat. "Well done, Sadie," says Mrs. Bean. Next, they write some numbers. At first, Sam thinks it looks too hard. Mrs. Bean writes the numbers with her magic pen. Sam goes over them. It's quite easy, really. When dinner time comes, the buddies help the children to wash their hands. They help them decide what to eat too. There are so many choices. "Take your time," says Mrs. Bean. "Only maybe not too long." Sadie has brought a packed lunch so she doesn't have to decide. On the third school day, Mrs. Bean says, "I think George is getting a bit smelly." So the children help her to clean out George's cage. On Friday, she tells them, one of you can take him home, and Sadie hopes it will be her. "Today," says Mrs. Bean, "we are going to paint George." Sam thinks George looks a bit worried. You can tell by his nose. "It's okay," Sam whispers. "We're only going to paint pictures of you." "Roll up your sleeves," says Mrs. Bean. She gives the children plastic aprons and they start to paint. "We'll hang the paintings on our washing line to dry," Mrs. Bean says. Mrs. Bean writes a story to on Sadie's painting, and Sadie can't wait to show it to her mummy and daddy. On the fourth day of school, Mrs. Bean says, "Today we're going to have a teddy bear's picnic for all your bear friends." "There's nothing to eat," says Sam. "Well, you're going to make some cakes," says Mrs. Bean, "and then you can add the icing and make faces on them too." The children put on aprons and wash their hands, and then they make the cakes. Mrs. Bean puts a name label inside each cake. "I know everyone's name," says Sam. "Wow," calls Sadie. "It didn't take you long to learn them." The children sit with the bears and eat their cakes. They sing a counting song. At the end of the fifth day of school, lots of children get stickers. "Now," says Mrs. Bean, "who is going to take George home?" She smiles at Sadie. Mrs. Bean knows that Sadie would love to take George home. She gives Sadie a sticker that says, "I was a good friend." She hands her George's cage too. Sadie is so happy she thinks she is going to burst. The children line up to go home. "I like school," says Sadie. "I think I do too," says Sam. George wobbles his tiny nose. He knows he likes school. That's the end. I really like that story because I think that some of the things in that story are the same as we will have in nursery. So you will all have your own peg and it will have a picture of your face on it to help you to find it. We will do lots of painting and we'll do dancing and we'll have fantastic school dinners and lots of play outside. We don't have a pet gerbil, but I'm sure we can still paint some pictures of some animals and make our nursery look nice and bright and colourful. Okay, well, I'm going to say goodbye for now. I hope you have a lovely summer holiday, and I am really, really, really looking forward to seeing you all in September and getting to know you. Okay, night night, bye bye.